Be nice if they just give me one little tink that would say we're live. But hey, what do I know?
This week on the Squatchers Lounge podcast, we're taking you to the Urals of Russia to discuss the Dialtov Pass incident. Was it hypothermia? Was it an avalanche? Was it infrasound? Was it military testing? Or a damn pissed off Yeti? But first, some news. And whatever else we want to rant about, honestly. And now the man most likely to be seen riding doubles with Putin shirtless on a brown bear. The Reverend Jeff Kelly.
Portal in danger of being found. Are you being harassed by book salesmen and geologists? Well, we have the solution for you.
Doc Johnson's Portal Protector. Just 2 squares of our product and jackasses can't find your portal, even with a knife.
Well, that's right, folks. Even when your portal only exists in your mind, a couple of squirts still does the trick. Let's hear from a customer.
Well, the first time I used Doc Johnson's Portal Protector, it failed miserably. I was in Tijuana, and some guys took me to a bar, gave me some drinks. They was free, too. But when I woke up the next morning, man, my bum was sore. Then I tried it at this place up in Oregon called Soho. I didn't get anyway. When I woke up the next morning, my bum was sore again. Fuck. So I'm just giving the fuck up.
Well, fuck. That's not helpful at all. Let's hear from a different customer.
My portal wasn't no safe neither. I was going out on a blind date. My friend hooked me up with a prison date named Cosby. And I woke up the next morning, my portal was sore as fuck too. I'm not sure this product works at all. I need my money back, y'all.
Well, folks, these people are the reason it says not for internal use on vaginal jelly. We'll try and find better reviews for you next time on That's right, Doc Johnson's Portal Protector on Does Shit Work. I don't know if Does Shit Work, but I'm pretty sure the Portal Protector does not. That's what we figured out so far. I'm the host of this mess, the Reverend Jeff Kelly, and over there is, of course, the greatest announcer man in podcast history, the Dr. David Batdorf, pseudoscientist, Esquire. Turn your lower third on there, Captain.
I'm working on it as we speak. You know, we're always running a little late these days.
Hey.
Even if it was Jeff's fault, just keep blaming me. It'll be fine.
Yeah, one of these days it will be my fault, but hey, we don't really get off. You know what time it is, though? As we always started off with, we're going to be talking about the Dialtov Pass incident here in just a little bit, but we always kick it off with a little bit of news.
And now for the Squatchers Lounge news, bringing you the most up-to-date topics from across the interwebs week after week after week. The Squatchers Lounge podcast. Let's get newsy.
Newsy, people. That's where we're at. Hey, guess what? Look, the baby eaglets were born as a follow-up to what we were talking about last week. That's right. My friend Melinda actually found pictures of the baby little flesh eaters themselves. Oh, look at this. 2 of them hatched and 2 of them lived so far. And that's a good percentage for us in the people who like American bald eagles. Dude, that nest is awesome. And they built that, you know, I mean, that's not like a nest that was already there. These things built that for these chicks.
It's crazy how, large and how intricate those nests are. I mean, that's
the size of your living room. I mean, really, from one end of the nest to the other end of the nest, it probably wouldn't fit in most living rooms.
They're approximately 6 feet across. It's pretty crazy. You could sit in there comfortably and probably be completely safe of not falling
and warm,
which is crazy. And snuggling some baby eagle chicks, which is always good.
That's right. You can still catch the Eagle Cam out of DC. Search it out on Google because I don't even know what that friggin' link is. Hey, rest in peace, poor Thunder, the Newport Aquarium's alligator snapping turtle. He was 150 years old. Newport Aquarium's 150-year-old alligator snapping turtle, their oldest and one of its most iconic animals, died Tuesday afternoon. Thunder was one of the aquarium's original animals to go on display when it opened to the public in May 1999. She had been a mainstay in the Canyon Falls exhibit. An autopsy is being done to determine the cause of death. Well, I can pretty much tell you the cause of death is like old as shit. But, while Thunder was here, thousands of cast members and millions of guests enjoyed and connected with her. So I guess she lived a long and full life at 150 years, but I bet she's kind of pissed off at 100 years old when she got captured and thrown in this damn zoo.
I've seen a lot of things.
I've been around the world. I can tell you some things. This one came to us from nkytribune.com. Check it out there. Science. Weird science. That's right. We're not building a beautiful chick. Kelly McGillis. Oh, man, dude, back in the day. Anyhow,
Wow.
rich sexual past between modern humans and Neanderthals is revealed. Only a bit of the DNA coiled inside the cells of Europeans and Asians come from Neanderthals, but those snippets have sparked a flurry of research. In the past few years, researchers have been traced them to one or two ancient encounters with our extinct cousins. Now a report published online in Science this week details a far richer sexual past for modern humans and their archaic cousins. Hubba hubba. When that one played out multiple times and places over the past 60,000 years. It seems like every time we came in contact, Homo sapiens and Neanderthals, there was some funky boogie going on.
Well, and it's not like we were just like wandering aimlessly through the forest and all of a sudden like, oh, look,
over the
Neanderthal
river,
also wandering aimlessly.
We go.
Yeah, like wandering aimlessly through the forest too. Maybe we should. No, these were settlements that were next to each other, and as those settlements moved and expanded, and they were hunting the same game, they came into contact with each other, and they probably could have done the same. Like if they were trading daughters or doing like all sorts of other things.
Now it was the girls of the Neanderthals that were getting given to the males of the Homo sapiens, because the males of the Homo sapiens ain't looking for that big brow ridge. I mean, you know why you knocked them in the head and pulled them by the hair, right?
So here's here's the deal. I mean, maybe what we were really attracted to was somebody with those big forearms that could tan that leather and make the cold weather clothing like you mean like. Damn, baby, you make a sheepskin coat like nobody I ain't never seen. so there could be a lot of
fingers on her.
Exactly. Did you see those stubby fingers on that one? Oh man, she could tear apart a carcass like nothing else. So maybe that's really what made it. I mean, like this. There's a lot of things that potentially could have been attractive about them. And maybe we just didn't even have the whole like idea of, yes, they look different, but they're obviously people too, kind of a thing,
Oh, they weren't all hung up on like everything else that at least Americans are. I don't say the world. The world is by far more not hung up on shit than we are here. It's amazing. Yes. But I digress.
So when we first like made the initial postulations, this is how science works. It's great. Like somebody asked the question after, like, okay, well, we can trace it back to kind of an encounter in an area. We can trace the genome back and look back that far and say about where these people were based on some of the other traits that they got, and this is where so and so most likely picked up this 2 to 4% of your genome. But over 60,000 years of breeding, to have that still intact means that there was a lot of that was a selected portion of the genome that worked. It was
so technically we're not really Homo sapiens, we're hybrid Homo sapien Neanderthal at this point.
Well, whatever. Like,
technically,
but Heidelbergensis, we're talking about like 400,000 years prior to that, we were the same thing. So we are what we are right now. And
that's freaky.
But
that's like having sex with your first cousin, dude. That's just like, ew.
Well, Not exactly. It's way better because we got all this diverse stuff. Like there's diseases and that we can cope with, and cold weather that we can cope with, and all sorts of these different things that allowed us to spread over the northern parts of the world that wouldn't have been given to us if we hadn't have borrowed them from our cousins. Yes. But also we brought up, they brought up recently a bunch of some bad things. Like there's the possible nicotine addiction and other stuff like that. If you're predisposed to a nicotine addiction, that's probably part of the Neanderthals genome that gave us that. Very interesting stuff.
And what's even more interesting than all of that, 40 years ago, we would be hung for even talking about this crap. The Christians would run us out of town for even mentioning that Homo sapiens bred with any other species of anything on the planet.
Let alone had a rich and tantalizing
right. This is crazy. Absolutely crazy. God bless everything. That's all I can look at this point. Oh my God, great, fantastic news. The killer whales currently at SeaWorld's care will be the last generation of the mammals enclosed at the water park, according to a company announcement posted on its website. Why the big news? SeaWorld has been listening, and they're changing. Society is changing, and we're changing with it. The company said SeaWorld is finding new ways to continue to deliver our purpose to inspire our guests to take action to protect wild animals, and not sticking giant whales in a little ass tank for 40 fucking years is the way they're going to do it. Hallelujah.
It's raining men.
It is. Oh my God, are you kidding me? This is fantastic news. They're not going to breed anymore. Yes, there were some babies that were born today, so we're still going to have workers in captivity in SeaWorld for probably another 15 or 20 years until they're finally forced to say, okay, we'll finally put these out to sea pen and just be done with them in our parks. But
I mean, even
now when there's no more orcas and there hasn't been an orca in a park in a very long time, people are still going to drove to SeaWorld because it's a fun place to go. The orcas were not the big draw to SeaWorld, as everybody seems to think they were.
Well, what's funny is that they'll probably just kick up their bottlenose program or something.
Right, their
bottlenose,
their seals. It'll be totally wrong what they do, but
look, we're never gonna get over this blackfish thing. Let's just move on.
Let's just move on to the pilots. How about can we use belugas? Are belugas still cool?
Can we put a walrus in a bow tie with a suitcase?
I mean, if you go to the Arctic experience at the SeaWorld in Orlando, it is so sad. There's beluga whales in a tub that I wouldn't keep a sea turtle in. It's just like, oh, you poor thing. And there's like a walrus in there too with it. I mean, it's just horrible. I feel so bad for these things in the long run because I know that they can think, and if they can think, then they shouldn't be kept in a little tank like that.
The problem is that they are aware of their situation.
Yeah, it's like, oh, sad face. Oh.
If you put a bunch of people into a pen, and maybe tattooed them with numbers and then started throwing bread over, they'd all come up to the pen when you came over with the bread too, right?
Right.
So it's not like, oh, look, the beluga whales want to, interact with me because I have a bucket full of fish. I remember actually up in Vancouver being able to feed fish to beluga whales. And thinking like, oh, this is great. They want to come over to me. And then way later in life, you're like, no, that's pretty dark. Like they get fed. They have to come up and see me. Like, there's anyway, very interesting stuff. And I'm hoping that this is a trend that we are seeing. And I think that there's reason for zoos to exist, but there's certain creatures that probably should not.
I don't think we need elephants in zoos anymore. I mean, we can talk about that another night. We can have big animals to be kept in a pen night. All right, let's move on along before we get too sad going on it, because this one's going to make you tear up too. The Smithsonian.com, the surprising ways civil war took its toll on Congo's great apes. Using satellite maps and field studies, scientists found that even small disturbances to the forest had big consequences for the bonobos, or bonobos, as Dr. Batdorf likes to say. Even the most celebrated conservation success can seemingly be undone overnight. That was the hard lesson learned when the conflict erupted in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, threatening the survival of the bonobo however you'd like to say it, populations that he and his colleagues had been studying and protecting for decades. Amongst the growing turmoil and brutal violence in the mid-1990s, the researchers, their lives potentially at risk, had no choice but to reluctantly return to Japan and hope for the best for the animals and the people they left behind. I mean, that's the long and the short of it. It's like, why don't we study all these things? Because there's people killing each other there.
Yeah, the DRC is not a really great place to run these studies. Unfortunately, it's still one of the great strongholds for the conservation effort where we need to put this focus in, but you could get shot for doing it. The thing we were talking about last week, the Netflix original, the Virunga, is a gorilla team that protects gorillas from poaching, but there's not really anybody doing that level. Like the gorilla is an iconic being in that particular country, so they protect it with guns, with weaponry, with money, but nobody. I mean, Pongo pygmaeus, the pygmy chimpanzee, the bonobo is just basically left.
That's bushmeat. They're left for bushmeat. They're left for pets. They're left
to fend for themselves, and they're not
doing well.
Well, they haven't been for a long time, and that's why it's sad to see the real toll of this. I mean, there's probably at the end of this, I've seen some things where there's a resurgence and a lot of birthing going on, and in particular areas as the war kind of moves around and away from the key areas that they're living, but it could come back at any moment. And what do what do you do in that situation aside from have all the scientists evacuate and come back later?
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much what you have to do until it all finally settles down and moves on. So speaking of moving on, let's move on from this one. Hey, take a hop on over to facebook.com/Squatch Detective and give old Steve Coles, the Squatch Detective public figure, a like. Dude's pretty legit, goes on a lot of things. He busts a lot of hoax, he busts a lot of bullshit. Like the guy, and he's got his radio series back up and running again, Squatch Detective Radio, hosted by Steve Coles himself. So check it out, facebook.com/Squatch Detective. Another little bit of sad news. Tennessee Bigfooter Mary Green has passed away. In a bit of a coincidence, as green is the color of St. Patrick's Day, the Tennessee Bigfoot author Mary Green has died on March 17th, 2016, about 4 p.m. in the place she was to call home, Tennessee. Mary Green was born May 5th, 1943, Dayton, Ohio. She's not related to the British Columbian Sasquatch researcher and author John Green, so I don't know why you mentioned it, but hey, Mary Green, nicknamed the Tennessee Bigfoot Lady, may have single-handedly created more controversy in the field of any other female Bigfoot researcher. This is due to her association with Janice Carter Coy, the self-proclaimed Sasquatch habituator, or Bigfoot contactee. That's right. That's the story of Fox and the Carter Ranch and all of those stories of growing up with Fox because her grandfather or father saved Fox because he was sick or hurt when he was little, and they saved him, and then he became part of the family. Knocked on the back door, asked for garlic. Everybody's seen that in the documentaries. Garlic. I guess they rub it on their body for bugs or something. I don't remember exactly. Sadly, she's passed on. Rest in peace, Miss Mary Green.
Yeah,
there's nothing to say on that.
Brought to light a lot of those stories that really piqued everybody's imagination.
Do you believe in Dogman? Dogman Symposium 2016. That's right. If you click the About page on this sucker, it'll tell you not a whole lot more. A family-friendly public event that will address the phenomenon of accounts of mysterious monsters in the Midwest that are categorized as resembling real-life werewolves. Featuring lectures by several leading investigators of unknown creatures, the community of Defiance, Ohio is notable for its own rash of dogman encounters during 1972, when Saturday, August 6th, 2016, from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. That's right, the BFW Hall, 201 Clinton Street, Defiance, Ohio. Hosted by who? Ken Gerard. We like Ken Gerard. He's the dude that's in that Alaska Monster Hunter show. He like fell and hurt his leg in some cave being a doofus. It happens. Don't let them put bright lights in your eyes while you're crawling around the dark places, and you probably won't get hurt. But hey, that's neither here nor there. I think we told Bill somebody or other that once, and he got offended. I don't think that show is on anymore, is it? Anyhow. I guess this is the point where I gotta change gears here just a moment from one screen to another screen. I got a friend of mine who says, "Hey man, I got some information you might want to hear about." Apparently, there's been an announcement in some of the groups that by Bob Strain a couple of months ago or so. I shared with y'all the fact that the NAWAC had deployed a radio tracking tag, which they suspect may have been attached to a wood ape. At that time, I was unable to answer any specific questions regarding it, but now the silence has been broken, and I'm free to answer your questions if I can regarding it. But first, but wait, there's more. But first, please listen to this podcast of Seth Breedlove interview with the founder of the original Bigfoot forums and NAWAC bod members, Brian Brown. Okay, back to the other screen share. So there's a podcast. That's awesome to know. What does this podcast tell us? Well, unfortunately, today in my dealios, I did not have enough time to find out. It was an hour-long show, and I didn't get a chance to listen to it. 61 minutes long. Episode 84, Talking Area X again. And apes with Brian Brown. So check it out. Give it a listen. We'll give this a subtopic next week. David and I will get a chance to listen to this at some point during the week. And we'll give this a little bit of a subtopic next week and kind of give our opinion of what they're actually saying is going on out there. If you want to keep an eye on their website, which has absolutely no mention of any of this, which is kind of strange, you can go to woodape.org. And, that's the NAWAC's main webpage. And other than a witness on January 1st, 2016, we don't see anything else up here about a radio tag or nothing. So, but Bob Strain is directly involved with those people. So apparently that seems to be the case.
Yep, I'm definitely looking looking for more info on this one. The question in mind is that I think there's the statement made. We'll look at what the announcements are. People are going to argue all over the place. Well, oh, they did it. No, they didn't do it. They did something. They did something. They got a radio collar on one. You ever seen those ones that you screw on? So they must have darted one, put it down. I got biopsies. They got this. They got that. The mind starts to run wild. But really all he's doing is pointing back to a podcast talking about the North American Wood Ape Conservancy and what their goals were. And you could ask him about that. And so we'll do that and then see what happens.
Exactly. and maybe we'll have some questions for Bob. I don't know how Bob feels about our podcast. Hopefully it's not too awful bad. Maybe we can get an interview with Bob on it.
I just think it would be better to be more specific. Like, hey, look, I know that we said that our tag had been taken, and it could have been taken by but it was taken by a moose. You could say that, or you could point back to this other podcast and have it be nebulous. Just say something or don't say anything. That's my whole idea. Yeah. Like the fact that nothing is referenced on the website, nothing is anything like. Then there's this social media aspect of it. Like, just let it be nothing.
Yeah, just kind of let it play out or don't let it play out. Hey, one more thing. We're going to be talking about the Russians tonight, and this is the premier Russian researcher, Igor Burtsov. He's the guy that was actually wrapped up with part of the Carter Ranch and the Fox story, hung out with Janice Carter, stayed there for quite some time investigating the stories of Fox, never saw a fox, never saw any of the Sasquatch, but heard lots of stories about them. They were talking back and forth about the abilities of Sasquatch in some crazy manner, and I happened to snag this comment from Igor himself. By the way, there's a connection between the hominids and Sasquatch and Tesla. They are capable to extract the electric energy from the surrounding space through their stick structures, as Tesla has discovered. Just one question for you, Igor. If that's the case, how come I don't have a stick structure on my roof getting free electricity?
Jeffrey, because you don't have the crystals underneath your shingles to do such.
The Bigfoots have crystals. It must be their feng shui or something.
It's their extraterrestrial drivers that are implanted in their head that make them get the crystals.
Captain, we need more dilithium crystals.
Here's my main comment on that one is why they can collect the energy, the electrical energy with these stick structures. Let's suspend disbelief for a moment and imagine that they can use their stick structures to collect the electrical energy, even if it requires crystals or anything else. What are they powering with that electricity? Because it's never going to be enough to open up a portal, or else we'd have portals everywhere.
Doc Johnson's portal protector. Yeah, I mean, there would be energy blips and there would be scientists everywhere in the woods. If there were portals opening and closing, scientists would be there to find out why. They can detect energy sources. A portal would be a giant energy source, regardless of where they got the energy from, their dimension or ours. If it opened here, it would be detectable. There would be. I don't have time to teach y'all physics. I just don't.
So if an astrophysicist were to tell you or talk about tiny rips and movements in space,
tiny bubbles
of space-time would destroy your body, and they destroy the planets, and they do all these sort of things. If you look at the actual physics of this is something that's so large that it contains the properties of adding a fourth dimension to two universes, right? This is one big wormhole that's connecting two universes that's larger than anything that your mind can imagine and goes in dimensions that your mind can't even imagine. So this is not what we're talking about. Why do you need this energy if you're a Sasquatch? Is it to power light bulbs? Are they blowing glass?
Well, right. I mean, if they've got all this extra energy laying around, why do they tree knock? Why don't they send a text? They can send lightning bolt text to the next tree structure. I mean, because where do we think the world's going from? Yeah, I mean, for God's sakes. Yeah, okay, thanks, Igor. I just don't think that's happening.
Yeah, the smiley face and the flaming thumbs up Facebook like was definitely helpful for getting me on board with that.
Right, exactly. Helps out with the belief structure. Hey, you know what time it is, David? It's time to get a little bit of quasi-theories going on. We finally got a new one from our boy, Dean Cooper. So it's time to get our quasi on. We're going to have Camping Tips for Stupids up on deck.
Please tell me it's about Nikola Tesla's crow.
And now, quasi-theories from a quasi-scientist, with your host, Dean Cooper.
Easter. Easter surely scoots about calendar-wise. The reason's obvious. It is always on the first Sunday after the first full moon after the first day of spring. Not expecting that, were you? The key to it is the name Easter itself. The name came into English from an old Germanic goddess named Ustre, the goddess of the dawn. Her holiday was celebrated at the spring equinox, when the path of the sun, or the ecliptic, crosses the celestial equator, and the length of day and night are equal. She was also the goddess of fertility, therefore eggs, bunnies, and lambs were associated with her. She is cognate with the other Mediterranean fertility and love goddesses like Astarte, Ishtar, and Aphrodite, who were all considered aspects of the one mother goddess. There's some scholarly arguments about all this, but I am the quasi-scientist around here, and this is my quasi-theory. Now, how do we get from the equinox to the correct Sunday for Easter, and what does it have to do with the full moon and what all? Many forms of the mother goddess had sons, and the father was usually a sun god, and the son was equated with the father. Many of these sons of gods died and resurrected for the sake of their followers, and they did it on or near the spring equinox. The path of the solar ecliptic and the celestial equator make an X where they cross, both in the spring and fall. These various sons of God, many of whom were crucified, died in the spring, at that point when the sun is at the center of the big X mark in the sky, the big cross in the sky. Having your son of God resurrect on a Sunday is highly appropriate. Most of these goddess mothers of a son of a god were moon goddesses, so you had to get the moon involved. And the full moon has been associated with regrowth and fertility in many cultures. On the other hand, officially, Easter Sunday is the first Sunday after the first full moon, after the first day of spring, because the bishops at the Council of Nicaea voted to make it so in 325 AD. On the third hand, that council was ruled over by the Emperor Constantine, who had a hard time distinguishing Jesus from Solus Invictus, the form of the Persian god Mithras that he previously worshipped. Go figure. This has been Dean Cooper, quasi-scientist, enlightening you with my quasi-theory of the week. You may read the text of this on my blog at bydean.com. That's BHAIDIN.com.
Yeah, speaking of blogs, that's right. Watchitall.blogspot.com, your number one source for all monster info. It's not just going to be about Bigfoot this time. That's right. Watchitall.blogspot.com is back in full force, and we're going to be doing monsters. Hey, don't forget to check out the Beast of Busco that goes along with that poor dead snapping turtle story that we had during the news. And now for a little bit of camping for stupids. Shout outs are coming up next.
Camping tips for stupids. Tip number 9. I read good. Thank you for that lovely intro. Jevin Moore's campsite etiquette for new campers. Behavioral do's and don'ts, and the just don't evens for the behavioral impaired. Like me? Sure. Count yourself in. Number 1. Approach your new campground with class and dignity. Bucky naked while blasting the ice cream truck music in a key that just makes your ears bleed. And be sure to circle the whole campground twice. And let everyone know you are here and you are serious with that shit. 2. Find your campsite slot and park right in the road next to it. Then set up your campground right in the road, because campground dirt's for pussies. It's too soft for you. You are hardcore. America. Number 3. Fuck campfires. Just use your high beams to light up your campsite. And the one next to it, and the one next to it, and the next one. Let everyone know that your truck is badass and the sun doesn't have shit on you. Number 4. At about 2 a.m. that night, don your best scary horror clown costume and makeup and go around peeking into everyone's windows and standing stoic and creepy, so that when people see a horror clown standing in the middle of the roadway, they shut up and stay quiet in their tents and don't keep you awake at night. And finally, when the cops show up, be sure to run at them real hard, screaming you like bloody murder, and flail your arms around wildly so you can catch all the bullets you can to save black lives. You're now a hero.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I think there was an ending there, but I think somehow we lost it. Wow. Jevin, my man, we got to talk about this. Holy crap. I think I got lost about halfway through it. It was, yeah. Anyhow, let's see who hell's hanging out in the lounge chat room tonight. Oh, I think I'm lost on that one. Wow. Hey, Dean Cooper, our quasi-theorist, as usual, is the first to show up. The Life and Times of JCM. That's right. Jevin Moore, our Camping for Stupids creator himself. B. Lynn. Hey, I don't remember you being out there before. Nice of you to check us out. Dick Jones. How you doing there, Dick? Rod Dupree checking in. Hope he's feeling a little bit better. Let's see who else is flying around out there. I'm going to have to. Gelatin. No, that's Gin or Gan or Gan. Yeah, we talked about that shit. You just need a new name. Obsidian Radio. How you doing? Glad you could join us out there as well. I know there's other people here. I saw a new name. Nope, that's Ty Bivens. Yeah, that's that guy. Or girl. Can't really tell. Picture's really, really small. Frank Smith finally showing up. That's right. He missed the last one live. He's glad to be here. Starshine. She made it. That's right. I still can't figure out if that's a dude or a chick, and I can't be excited or not. Just one of those things. Rock City Marco. Glad you could check us out live again tonight, man. Patrick Germond from Sioux City, Iowa. I don't know if that's actually where he's from. I think that is there anybody else that just got there? Who else is flying around out there? I don't want to miss anybody because that sucks when I do. But man, y'all talk a lot in the chat room, which is awesome because that's what it is there for. Dave Stump. That's right. Sam Rivera. I knew there were some new ones that would be missing if I didn't scroll all the way to the bottom down here and see Squatchy Inc. That's right. Go out and check out weslosner.com and get your Squatchers Lounge podcast official prints for just $13 shipped. Don Reif's checking in. Anna Baz is checking in. See, there's a bunch of people just hiding out there. You're dirty. You're just listening. Yeah, Sally Field. I hate Sally Field. Y'all, if you're not watching Bigfoot Entertainment Weekly on Monday nights, you are totally missing What the F Theater. And I'm sad for you. I really, really am sad for you if you're missing it. So that's who's hanging in the lounge chat room tonight. Glad everybody could make it out tonight. Now we're going to talk about this holy crap incident, the Tatloff Pass. What really happened to these crazy bastards?
And now for tonight's topic.
Finally for tonight's topic, after a million other friggin' things we talked about, the Tatloff Pass. I'm going to kill this Russian tonight, damn it, because I used to speak Russian words, but not Russian places, because Russian places really suck. The Tatloff Pass.
Dyatlov.
Yes.
I said it backwards in the intro, I realized when I listened back. Dyatlov.
Was an event that took the lives of 9 hikers in mysterious circumstances on the night of February 2nd, 1959 in the northern Ural Mountains. The name Dyatlov Pass refers to the name of the group's leader, Igor Dyatlov. The incident involved a group of 9 experienced ski hikers from the Ural Polytechnical Institute who had set up camp for the night on the slopes of the hills. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. Investigators later determined that the skiers had torn their tents from the inside out. They fled the campsite, probably to escape an imminent threat, you think? Some of them were barefoot, others under heavy snowfall. The body showed signs of a struggle. Dyatlov had injuries to his right fist, as if he had been in a fist fight. One victim had a fractured skull, and another was found with brain damage without any sign of distress to the skull. One of the skull fractures was so severe, it was determined that it could not have been that he would not have been able to move. Additionally, one woman's tongue was missing. Soviet authorities determined that an unknown compelling force had caused the deaths. You think an unknown compelling force? I'm sure it was compelling because all 9 of them were dead in really effed up ways. Access to the region was consequently blocked for hikers and adventurers for 3 years after the incident. Due to the lack of survivors, the chronology of events remains uncertain, although several possible explanations have been put forward, including an avalanche, a military accident, and a hostile encounter with a Yeti or unknown creature. Hey.
I'm going with that one.
Yeah, well, that's really the way that all the Bigfoot shows kind of point in there. And we'll talk about that here shortly. But let's get a little bit more of the background going here now. A group was formed for a ski trek across the northern Urals. The original group, led by Igor Dyatlov, consisted of 8 men and 2 women. Most were students or graduates of the Polytech Institute. They list all 10 of them, but I can't pronounce half of their friggin' names, so we're just going to skip. I'm sorry. Igor, Yuri, Lud, Yuri, Alexander, Zinadiah, Risturm, Nikolaya, Semyon, and Yuri. A lot of Yuris going on this trip. The goal of the expedition was to reach to reach a peak, which means don't go there, a mountain 10 kilometers north of the site of the incident. This route in February was estimated as a Category 3, the most difficult. All members were experienced in long ski tours and mountain expeditions. The group arrived at a train at a city at the center of the northern province on January 25th. They then took a truck, the last inhabited settlement so far north. Really, is that the trip you really want to take in the middle of Siberia? I mean, do you just, okay, I'm going to take a train as far as that freaking train is going to go, and I'm going to pay some dude to truck and drop me. Hey, just take this on bitch as far as you can get it. We'll get it unstuck out of the snow, and then y'all can go. Just leave it.
Yeah, and then we'll start from there, right?
Right. They started their march towards the peaks on January 27th. The next day, one of the members, Yuri, was forced to go back due to illness. Well, there you go, homeboy. Illness saved your life. The remaining group of 9 people continued the trek. So, there you go. How do you make that decision?
How do you not blame Yuri, the one guy who got out?
Well, he got out before it even happened, though. It was like on the first night he was just now out. Now, David, as usual, has the Mr. Google Maps up, and he's going to show us where exactly we're talking about. Because, man, we're talking about deep. We're talking about deep.
This is very, very northern. This is very very Ural Mountains-ish.
Not Ural.
Ural. Oh, hey, but look, there's the Ural Mountains. Ta-da! So I looked up. Dyatlov Pass was actually a place, and actually
it's a thing. It's a place. It's really a thing. Imagine that.
It's really a thing. And so you go in here, and you see some roads around this area, and we're still at just because we don't have reference for if I'm zooming in Washington State, I have reference for where things are. Yeah. We're still 54 miles above the earth at this point. Right. So pretty much in space. And when you start zooming in on these incredible areas and you're like, oh, no, those aren't roads. Those are boundaries.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what they were walking? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you are basically in the deep wilderness, very much.
You are nowhere. When people say you get lost to nowhere, you want the address to nowhere. We found the address to nowhere. It's right here.
Dyatlov Pass is right in the middle of nowhere, but this is that perfectly montane, snow-capped
green belt,
like green forest, with coniferous forest that we're talking about with Sasquatch all the time on the West Coast. And while there might be different areas that have different sets of habitats, but this is the exact you can almost see the silver fir line right here below the other types of fir, the Douglas and the cedar and whatnot. If this is really what you're looking at, because the habitats are similar, but this is a really cool area, and the Ural Mountains again run right through this spine here. So this is the high point, and then the non-covered areas going down into where there's water again, but these are the mountain fields and craggy rocks at the top of the Ural Mountains.
Yeah, that's a
But
12-month suck my butt hike is what that is.
Well,
12
you know,
kilometers across
you
rock
could-
and ice and sheet. And
yeah,
crud.
you could get in there. So yeah, here the spine of the Urals runs right down that area, just like we were talking about here. And this is this is a fantastic area if you're going to be looking for any unknown primate. If the coniferous montane forests of Washington, Oregon, and California are interesting you, this is boom. This is it for Russia, and it's close enough to, like Moscow, and then St. Petersburg is a little bit east of that somewhere, like to where you could actually get to it. So let's get to it, right? Monster Quest needs to come back online, but then goes into this vast Siberian area that's above, our dried out area because of the Himalayas down here. We'll just talk about this again. So here's our big rain shadow that creates a desert that goes back into this coniferous area. This is not Sasquatch territory.
No.
This is camel territory, right?
That's just like there's not Mexico territory. That's just like Mexico is not Bigfoot territory.
Exactly.
For the same
And
reason.
down here again, where we have the water starts spilling out here, we have this really interesting area. So this, the Urals through Siberia is the Pacific Northwest. This down here is that Florida, Louisiana,
The East Coast, yeah.
South Carolina area. And this is the East Coast. Siberia is the East Coast Bigfoot. Like this, the Urals is the West Coast Bigfoot, if you're just talking east and west directions. But it's basically the same thing.
If you look at it, you can actually see where the Canadian access through the Midwest plains. Yeah, it's the same setup as what we have here on our continent.
And you talk about Mexico, the Sonoran Desert, and all, and that whole shadowed area, where up here, guess what we don't have? Monkeys and primates. In North America, we don't have a whole lot of monkeys and primates, except some that escaped. But then once you get down sub Mexico, all of a sudden you start to have primates, and where you didn't up here. Fascinating stuff. It just shows how ecology is an important part of the process of finding Sasquatch. So why don't people?
Seems like all these environments are very polar to each other.
Well, yeah, but they're cut off and they have different aspects, and this area up here. There ain't no small bodied monkeys that are surviving up here without a spring like the high altitude monkeys in Japan. They need the freshwater, like sulfur warm spring, to be able to survive up there. But a small bodied anything isn't going to live up here. That's why everything's going to be large bodied that lives up there, or it's not going to live there, or it's going to be a rodent and they just don't care. Right.
Right. Now let's take a look at the Yeti aspect of why all of a sudden people were on the Dyatlov Pass. For years, Yetis were never actually talked about as something that could have been possibly responsible for this. It wasn't until 2014 when the Discovery Channel special Russian Yeti, The Killer Lives, another one of those docutainments, as I like to call them, explored the claims of the Dyatlov group was killed by an enraged Russian Yeti. Investigators Benjamin Radford wrote an in-depth review of the show for the Doubtful News website. Oh, God, I actually mentioned that. Rag. He notes that the Russian Yeti Killer Lives begins with the premise that the injuries sustained by the skiers were so grave and extraordinary that they could have only been inflicted by an inhumanly strong creature. The show makes much of the missing tongue and claims something must have ripped it out of her. However, Radford states, as it happens, a tongue-eating Yeti, even assuming it exists, is by far the least likely explanation. The missing parts aspect of the case is a familiar one to skeptics and has been invoked in countless other unsolved mysteries, including the chupacabra, cattle mutilations, satanic animal sacrifices, and aliens. Typically, a mystery is mongered by those unfamiliar with or who intentionally ignore ordinary predation and decomposition. Lots of eventually found a variety of stations. The Russian Yeti kills the little gives. Mike, the host, Mike, I can't Libiak. I can't. He needs a couple of extra vowels in there somewhere. Would have us believe that the 9 skiers encountered a Yeti, which they not only saw and photographed, but it stalked them, and none of the skiers mentioned anything about the Yeti or their shock at having photographed the creature. In fact, it is believed that their encounter with the Yeti was such an insignificant event that they didn't mention it at all in their journals and continued their journey uninterrupted. So, yeah, there you go. I mean, the chances of this being a Yeti, slim to none. Chances of it being an avalanche, maybe. Chances of it being a pissed off bear, I'd say that's a pretty good possibility now that Dr. Batdorf has shown us what we're talking about.
But they also brought up, the aspect of wolves or all sorts of other things. I mean, the Wikipedia on this that I quickly read through, like, it brings up infrasound and the fact that area is volcanic, and maybe that's what crushed their faces. Okay, so the missing tongue and some of these other things are probably more to do with I guess not predation. It would be scavenging.
Birds eat the tongue quick. Eyes, anything soft.
The soft parts go first. Genitals. If we didn't wear if they weren't wearing pants, I'm sure the anus would be gone. Penises done. Those sort of things just disappear because they're easy to get.
The fleshy bits, they taste the best, Mom.
It's anyway. So all that makes sense. The fact that a bunch of people went up into the middle of nowhere, into the mountains, and something bad happens. So that makes sense. The Sasquatch aspect of it, it's like, well, it looks like a nice enough area, and I'm sure that I've heard lots of stories from the Urals, or a few at least, yada yada yada. But why do you just why do people immediately go there? Why do people immediately go, oh, the tongue's missing? It was an alien mutilation.
The Yeti took his tongue. The Yeti took his tongue for a trophy. Yeah, he's gonna put on his keychain for the UFO.
Mm-hmm.
That there beat a ticket. So hey, that's kind of where I'm looking at it. I'm gonna leave the woos alone for the week. We've talked about enough woo stuff for a little bit, but I'm just gonna say I am not personally against anyone. I am just pointing out their outrageous behavior. But when you hear, you can't talk bad about me because this is my religion and the Constitution says I have freedom of religion, I'm going to be able to look at every single one of y'all and go,
What kind of person to say a told us so? You know what? A told us so. A told us so.
It's happening. You watch it. The next thing, I'm going to sue you because you're talking about my religion. May the power of the Johnson compel you.
If that were a viable lawsuit, there's some presidential candidates out there that are going to be getting some notifications, if you know what I'm saying. So anyway, I think it's I think it's time to keep an eye on that and make sure that it doesn't go anywhere. And if we can be a part of making that not a thing, let's go for it.
I am down with you. Hey, everybody, I got good news. Bigfoot Campfire Stories is coming back as of April 2nd this year. That's right. Finally, Bigfoot Campfire Stories are going to be back in rotation. Monster Info, there's a new one going up at midnight tonight, so be sure to check that one out. That one is, I just finished it up. I can't even. Oh, the Bear Lake Monster of Utah and Idaho's border. That's right, my boy, the Smiha, the Bigfoot killer, is out in Idaho. So I figured I would find a monster close to him. Maybe he'll go check it out for me. So the Bear Lake monster. Oh, got to wrap up some of these sea monsters because there's a bunch of them. Check it out on the website, youtube.com/S Lounge Podcast. Join us in the Squatchers Lounge, facebook.com/groups/S Lounge, and join us at the fan page where all of this madness gets released first, facebook.com/S Lounge Podcast. Check out the blog, squatchitall.blogspot.com for all of your latest monster info. My boy David, we ready, man? It's springtime, dude. Bigfoot's coming. There's going to be sightings. There's going to be tracks. There's going to be stories of sightings. Oh, boy.
Oh, my. I'm just hoping that I can get back out there a little bit this year where I haven't before, which is it's looking more possible. Not quite open in the areas I want to go, but yeah, everybody always says they have to be somewhere where they're not where if I can't get there, they may be able to get there, but why would they be there? There's better places for them to be. But the whole idea is there's that viable time, and I'm going to use it this year, and I have enough vacation backed up to where that's going to be a thing.
Nice. I actually just got word on a new source of Bigfoot sightings and local Bigfoot sightings for the area that we actually research up there in the Sierras from a long-time lost friend of another one of our researchers. So hallelujah to that. We're going to spend an entire weekend with that dude just kind of driving from location to location to location where some of these sightings have been seen by the locals, and start dropping in some GPS points to see if some of the things don't line up to make more sense of our area. We know our area. We've been all over it. We've spent hundreds of miles on quads, dozens of miles on foot. Shmi has walked 100 miles around this place on foot. Easy in just like this season. Or last season. So we know our area. We've just got to figure out where they move and why they do it.
Yeah, and definitely just make note of all the details. If there's something that pops up in all these areas that you're whatever it is, that builds a working hypothesis. And now all of a sudden you just have to go around and look for that. Because those areas where Sasquatch was doesn't mean the Sasquatch is. But why was Sasquatch there? Now you got something.
Exactly. Why? The why is what is very, very important. So that's going to do it for us on this edition of the Squatchers Lounge podcast. We want to thank all of y'all for coming out and watching us live. If you're watching us in archive, come join us Wednesday night, 8 p.m.-ish, 8:15-ish. Yeah, most of the time anyhow. You can catch us live on youtube.com/S Lounge Podcast. Thanks everybody for watching. For the Dr. David Batdorf, Esquire, accredited pseudoscientist, I'm the host, the Reverend Jeff Kelly. Say thanks for watching, and may the Squatch be with you.
And also with you.
I miss Bob Ross.
That's a happy little Jeff.
We're gonna pay the happy but he's in there. You can see his face. If you guys look really close to the lounge banner, you'll notice that Wes is painting the banner, but there's no Bigfoots in it because we're all posing for him, not paying attention to the Squatches walking behind us. See you next week, folks. Brave hoot, masturbate.